braving the rain today, for being here. So we have the body language panel going on. I'm going to introduce our panelists right now. So first of all, welcome out Sarah Collins. She is the CEO of GEM. Come on out. Have a seat. Next up is Rebecca Lewis. She's the founder of Burn by Rebecca. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Sonja Fung. She is the owner of Live Well Clinic and Naturopathic. Is that it? Naturopathic? It just says Live Well Clinic and Naturopathic Doctor. There we go. Hi, welcome. So I am Autumn Calabrese. I am a celebrity trainer, fitness expert, nutrition expert. You might know me best from my original program, 21 Day Fix. That launched about 5 years ago. Since then, I have also created 21 Day Fix Extreme, the Master's Hammer and Chisel Country Heat, and most recently 80 Day Obsession, which has turned into a fun little trilogy of 80 Day Obsession, a little obsessed, and a little bit more obsessed. I have my best-selling cookbook, Fixate, along with my cooking show by the same name, Fixate. And most recently, I have a restaurant opening up in Calabasas in a couple of weeks with my older brother, who is a chef. So I'm super excited to be here with these awesome boss babes, just talking to you guys all about health and wellness. So let's take a minute, let's meet our panelists. Please introduce yourself to them and just tell us a little bit about yourselves. I think we're all on now.
Okay, great. Can you hear me? Well, thank you, Autumn, and thanks everyone for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Sarah Collin. I am the founder of GEM, which is a female-forward nutrition company. And our first product, and I'll show you guys, we're redefining the vitamin with real food. So I typically like to show it so you can see what I'm talking about, but it's not a capsule or a pill, it's actually a real piece of food. So it's made with whole plants, designed for women. So we're redefining the entire concept of what a vitamin is, what it looks like, what it's made of. And so I can give a little background about how I got here and why I'm starting this. So I've long been passionate about nutrition and health. I actually studied it in college. I was studying sustainable development and global health. I went around the world and met with farmers and entrepreneurs and really learned from a global perspective different ways in which we nourish ourselves. I ended up kind of tackling these food injustices through the lens of policy early on, the World Bank, the UN, found out that wasn't the pathway for me, and shortly after I ended up joining an entrepreneurial fellowship. That's how I got into the world of building things and startups, started my career in business, in both consulting and investing, eventually co-founding my first company, which was a CBD beverage, a little before its time now. And that really showed me, it opened up my world that nutrition is much more than just your physical body, but also your mind and your mental and emotional health, and how I was really fascinated, how young the science of nutrition is and how much we don't know. And so GEM came to be really, I had an aha moment last summer when I was going through my own health journey and found myself in the vitamin aisle, just incredibly appalled by what my solutions were at that moment. And so I decided to create my own. And for me, GEM, we're starting with the vitamin, but it's much more than that. It's really about fixing our food system, which is incredibly broken. And there are kind of two pieces to that. The first is that, the agricultural industry is one of the most polluting industries on our planet. And secondly, our nutritional inequity is hurting women the most. Nutritional insecurity is hurting women the most. And so those are two things that we hope to tackle with GEM. So GEM is made primarily with different algae. So algae is a carbon-negative plant system. You guys probably heard of spirulina, chlorella. Those are two types of algae that are in GEM. So we use sustainable plants like that. And it's also designed for women. So for you guys in this room, we believe if we can create better nutritional products, for women and empower them, I think you'll be surprised of the injustices that we can tackle. So that is, and we just launched a couple of weeks ago, so it's a very exciting moment, and that's just the quick background on me. Yeah.
Fabulous, thank you so much. Rebecca, please tell us a little bit about you.
Hi guys, my name's Rebecca Louise. I'm the founder of Burn by Rebecca. It's a fitness and nutrition app. First of all, who's fired up to be here? Yeah. Power up! Let's fire that up! 10 years ago. I grew up watching Laguna Hills on MTV and thought, one day, Rebecca, you're going to drive down PCH in a convertible and you're going to live there. And now that really is my dream. So I'm excited to share with you guys a little bit about my journey and how I've got here. And, you know, if you don't have a background in health and fitness, you know, whatever it is, and if you want that, it's totally possible. I actually came to America to get my commercial pilot's license. Again, nothing to do with health and fitness. I got my license. It was incredible. I got to fly around, you know, Southern California, all the way across America. People not understanding my accent halfway through the country. And it came to a point when I just realized that after I got my license, it just ultimately wasn't what I wanted to do forever. So I don't know if you guys are sitting there right now and thinking like, you know, I'm kind of at a crossroads, I'm not kind of sure what I want to do, and like maybe I've invested too much time in doing something or too much money investing something, but it's just not ultimately my passion. And that was me. And 6 years ago, I said, you know what, the pilot's license thing, it isn't for me. And I'd always grown up loving fitness. Played every single sports team you can imagine. I was a South of England field hockey player. And my brother was a professional soccer player. And it just came to a point where I was like, I love being part of a team. Like that for me was like a team, like spirit. And I love fitness. I love looking after my body. And then I started, you know, trying to get myself a visa to come over here. It's not that easy, thanks to America, but no worries, I'm still here. I won't go into that. And I got a visa to work here, and I just started to go out and find kind of my way. And I was lucky enough, I say lucky, the more you work, the luckier you get, by the way. And I landed a role on a YouTube channel, fitness. And I realized that, you know, my one really good talent in life was working out and talking at the same time. I could do that really, really well. It's getting me to shut up that's the problem. So I started making these videos, and we just couldn't believe how, you know, quickly they grew. I think, you know, with 450 million views on the workouts, it's crazy. It's just me in my living room with my dogs. Really, I think it's to do with the dogs. It's got nothing to do with me. But I'll take that. And, you know, from then on, I just started to realize that 80% was nutrition and 20% was the fitness. And I had that completely backwards. I have a background, when I was 17 years old, I got down to 86 pounds, so that's too tiny. And I was not feeding my body the right nutrition. I lived in London, I was a partier, club promoter, that's another avenue. So for me, when I realized that nutrition was so key to how you felt, how your mind was, like how you developed, how you were as a person, how you were with other people, I was like, there is something onto this. And you know, blending my passion for, you know, working out and talking at the same time, as well as helping people with their nutrition, it's just been the best transition that I've been able to make, because it's not just about being a role model to other people, it's about being a role model for myself. And having that transition and that change. So now I've got an incredible company. We've just launched our new app that comes out next week. It's incredible. There's so many workouts, there's fitness stuff, a lot of things about mindset. You said that, you know, your mind is the biggest part. It really is. 20% fitness, 80% nutrition, 100% is your mindset. And now I have, you know, an incredible team with me. It's not just me. I have a team of people around me that really help put everything together. And it's just been an incredible journey. We do retreats, we do like fit camps. It's just really about getting our community to feel like they belong somewhere and to have fun with it and realize that, you know, when you've got your mindset straight and when you think in the right way, you know, the nutrition and the fitness is easy. It's really how you think about it. So I'm just so honored and blessed to be here today, and I'm excited to have a great conversation with these fellow entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to have so much fun things to talk about. I'm like ready to dive in. But Dr. Sonja, please tell us a little bit about you first.
Sure. I'm a naturopathic primary care doctor that focuses on treating the whole person from the least invasive means possible, such as preventative medicine, which is the best type of medicine, all the way to more intensive like IV therapy and medication management. So this is a little bit cliche, but I have always known that I wanted to be a doctor and a healer. And I grew up in a household that utilized and valued a lot of traditional herbal medicine as well as conventional Western medicine. And that has really shaped who I am and how I practice as a naturopathic doctor. My grandmother, who had a big hand in raising me, just kind of watching her passed through cancer diagnosis, that really played a huge role in the path that I went down, and leading me to naturopathic medicine. And so in my practice, I see a lot of hard cases. I see a lot of cancer patients, chronic disease patients, and chronic pain patients. Regardless of whoever walks in my door, with all of my patients, I talk to them about and shore up their pillars of health. So the first pillar of health that is always your diet, like what you put in your body. Your second pillar is your exercise, how you move your body. And the third pillar is how you digest and stress management. So how you detox your body and your mind. Because we're looking at the whole person here, so mind, body, and spirit make up health as a whole. And I utilize a lot of IV therapy, a lot of intravenous nutrients, as well as a lot of regenerative injection therapies, such as platelet-rich plasma and stem cells for joint, back, neck injuries, as well as aesthetics. But without those strong pillars of health, you're not going to be able to utilize all of these more intense therapies as well, or if at all. So it's very important to make sure that you have that strong foundation of health. So I'm not from here. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. So outside is pretty much what you get when you live up there. So I can't deal with that, and I have to live in sun and dry. And so I moved to the desert 10 years ago and started my practice there, Live Well Clinic in La Quinta. And I get to live in almost 360 days of nice hot sun and dry, and I love it. So here we are.
Thank you so much. Thanks, ladies. Okay, so let's get this panel going. Let's start with some questions. So Sarah, I'm going to just start with you, and we're going to do this very conversational-like. Feel free to comment, jump in, and we'll just sort of talk about it. So I want to start, I want to back up a little bit and say, who in your life was significant in teaching you the importance of health, and what did they say that impacted you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, I also grew up in Portland, Oregon, a little outside of Portland, Oregon, Sonja. And I don't know if there was one particular person who impacted me. I would say my entire family and the way that I grew up impacted me the most. So I grew up a little outside of Portland on the coast, where I wouldn't call it a for-profit farm, but we had a lot of land, and actually I raised everything that I ate. So most of our meat we actually raised. We never had like a frozen fish, or eating fish that was frozen. All of our fish was freshly caught. I didn't even know the words like organic and non-GMO, because that was just like inherent and like what I ate. So I grew up, and now it sounds like very spoiled and snobbish, but this was just like the way it was where I grew up. And my family and the way that we were fed early on just taught me the value of whole food, fresh, and really understanding and questioning, how your food is grown, where it's from, who takes care of it, what you feed it. And so I think growing up like that, it just sort of naturally, those values were instilled in me, and is something that I think we all need to do a little more of, eating real food.
Rebecca, wow, that's pretty lucky. My mum couldn't cook and my dad didn't, so it could have been any more different from what happened to you. So growing up in England, it's bangers and mash and shepherd's pie, so not really the healthiest of foods, and we didn't even know what vegetarian or vegan or kale was, to be honest. And I think that, just not knowing about the importance of nutrition, when I was 17 years old, we had that big craze for size 0, and that's really, I got the inspiration, it sounds terrible, of being, super thin. But for me, when I grew up and I started to actually listen to like other philosophers, there's a great guy called Jim Rohn, and he said, you know, look after your body because it's the only place that you have to live. And that really stuck with me. And when I heard that, I go, yeah, that's really true, because, you know, I watched 3 grandparents, die over the space of 18 months, and I saw that what they were feeding their bodies at that age, or what the nursing homes were feeding their bodies, and that's why they were deteriorating so much. So for me, it was like, wow, like that's just a big eye-opener to see, like, what you feed your body today is going to make a difference to what it is in the future.
I've got your bangers and mash and your shepherd's pie all fixed up. I've got recipes for both that are actually healthy versions, so you can check them out.
Love that.
And they're amazing. Dr. Sonja, who inspired you?
Well, I think it's just my family and friends as a whole. And of course, on a daily basis now, my patients really inspire me and always keep me on my toes, and always ask me about the newest research and all of that. And but I just think back to a mentor of mine, what she said. She said, progress, not perfection. And so it just reminds me that we're always continuing to walk on our path to health. And there's not really a set point ever. So you're always working on it, and at your pace and what you need to do. So it's very personalized in that way.
I think it's so interesting because you guys have such different stories, right? Like such a healthy, I don't think it's snobby at all, actually. I think it's super cool, but such a different way that everybody has grown up. And for me, I had a dance teacher that actually really inspired me with my health and my fitness in such a unique way, because she did it, I was like 14, so she did it in this way that she's basically steering us girls away from eating disorders, but making sure that we were fueling our bodies. So she would just talk to us about food and about what you put in is going to determine how well you do as a dancer. So for me, at 14, wanting to be a competitive dancer, when she said that, I was like, oh, well, soda was gone and white bread was gone. It was just well, that's going to stop me from being who I want to be. And so it's interesting because we all have these different paths that we take to go on our health and our fitness journey, and you might not have even had that aha moment yet. You might be sitting here listening to it right now. So if you haven't, just know that it can come in many different forms that just all of a sudden clicks and makes you change the way you look at health and the way you look at nutrition. I'm actually going to steer away from my questions for 1 second because I just think there's something so interesting. We all seem to be talking about how nutrition is such a big deal. And obviously you and I, Rebecca, are both in the fitness industry, right? That's where we both started, was teaching people through workouts, and then all of a sudden I had the exact same moment as you. I was like, hey, this is more about nutrition than it is about what I do. And turned a huge part of my focus to that. So I just want to talk about that for a minute. Obviously, Sarah, you're coming from a farm and growing it yourself. How do you think that impacts the way you look at food now, and what you put into your body, and what you see that we are experiencing when we go out to get our food, or how people are looking at food?
It's a great question. And this is actually something that we're trying to educate with GEM, and one way that we're trying to redefine the vitamins. So a lot of people look at vitamins like, oh, I need to get 50% more vitamin D, and 25% more iron, and 80% more of this, but it doesn't really work that way. It's not just hitting these numbers and checking these boxes. It's actually about diversifying your diet with certain nutrients. So more than 70% of America's calories are just made up of 3 plants: soy, corn, and wheat, in different forms. And you might actually be getting, because of the way that we process foods and fortify it, your nutrients from that in different ways, but that's actually not good. So just getting your nutrients without understanding what the source of those nutrients are doesn't really work. That's my point. And so you need to actually know not only that you're getting those nutrients, that's critical, but also that you're getting it from a diverse source of plants. And that's what we tried to bring to GEM. It's made with 13 plants. You get your nutrients from whole food sources, so it's better absorption, but also in a diversified way. And I think, to your other question, that's something that was just part of me growing up and having, a lot of different food available to me, and knowing that was just how you were supposed to nourish yourself. And, I believe that you should get as much nutrients as you can from food, but the reality of the way our food system is today, our soils are overworked, our foods are heavily processed. We just can't get the nutrients from a carrot that we could 50 years ago. And so we do need vitamins and we do need these things. We just need it in an accessible, convenient way. And so I think it's something that, I hope we continue working towards.
I will say this, I envy you that you actually grew up growing your own food. You guys have been trying to grow garden in my backyard for 2 years. I don't have a green thumb. I've planted a lot of things, I haven't really eaten much from it. So I think it's cool, look at my parents, but there you go. But the reason being is that we know that now, like even when you go to a Whole Foods or an Erewhon or something, it doesn't matter what you're buying, like getting those nutrients and getting the food and the vitamins and the minerals that we should be getting, we're not. So it's interesting to hear just what your thought is, and I love the idea of that. Rebecca, what do you think about it, about how we're taking our food in, where we're getting it from, what we're seeing when we walk into a grocery store, how people are picking
I couldn't agree more with you. You know, we're saying like, a carrot doesn't have what it had 20 years ago in it. It's just like the nutrients, and people, I don't want to take vitamins, I want to get, I want to have it all from real food. Well, unfortunately, real food just isn't as good as it was, and you're just not getting the nutrients. I take vitamins, it's vitamins in England, so this is throwing me off completely. But we take a lot of vitamins and supplements, and that just allows you to make sure that you are getting your daily, vitamins and minerals every day. And so a big thing for me was feeding your body optimal nutrition, like, having a balanced diet, eating 6 times a day, but feeding your body that optimal nutrition, like the best of the ingredients. And that's really been a change in the way that I feel about myself and how I'm fueled with my workouts. We talk about sports nutrition, people are like, well, I don't want to take a pre-workout, I don't want to take a post-workout, I'm going to get buff, I'm going to get like the Incredible Hulk. I'm like, no, you have to lift a serious amount of weight to do that, and then you eat a lot of food. So pre-workouts are great because, they've got creatine in, they're going to help with the circulation and making sure that you've got the right pre-workout. And then the post-workout is the most important thing. Again, we talk about 80% is nutrition. So if you've done the 20% fitness and then you're not feeding your body the right nutrients afterwards, it's kind of like a flower. If you put a flower out in the sun, right, it's going to grow. But what happens if you don't give it water? It's going to die. It's the same with you working out your muscles, right? You've been working your biceps, you're like, yeah, I'm looking really good. And then like afterwards, if you don't feed it that nutrition to repair it, then they're never going to grow, they're never going to repair. And I had this completely backwards. I would say, right, I've just worked out for for an hour and 20 minutes, I'm going to go and eat, sweets or chocolate because I burn it off. But really, I wasn't feeding, I've just been trying to grow my glutes, and they're not going to grow because I'm not eating the right food afterwards. So you've got to make sure that you're feeding your body that optimal nutrition at the right periods of time so that you can get the results that you want, and also to live a healthy, active lifestyle.
Yes. So Dr. Sonja, you come at it obviously from a more medical perspective. So give us a little bit of your insight into our nutrition and what we're experiencing.
Yeah, so all of my patients get this nutrition spiel from me because I get it from more of a different angle. I look at more of a personalized approach for my patients because not all patients are supposed to be eating 6 times a day. Their schedule might not accommodate for that, so you have to really, and I do a really deep dive into that and see what works for them. I also do a lot of specialized nutrient testing as well to see what exactly are they actually missing. Because depending on what they're eating, depending on what supplements that they already might be on, whether they're good or not is another question. But looking at what their actual baseline is very important too, to be able to pinpoint and hone in on what they actually need. And again, there's the food sourcing is just, you're not going to get enough nutrients, unfortunately, from the food that you eat, even though I do encourage a whole foods diet. However, there's also a lot of gut dysfunction and a lot of inflammation on all the corn and all the GMO stuff and the pesticides and all the toxins that you get from that highly processed food that really wreak havoc on your digestive system. So we have to fix that first. As one of our core tenets in naturopathic medicine, if all fails, fix the gut. So you have to have a working engine in order to process all the great stuff that you're going to be putting in your body. So if that's not working, you're out of luck. But that's what we typically do, is like, I fix the gut first, and then we can talk about nutrients.
So important, such an interesting topic. I could take us off onto a tangent right now with nutrition. I'm going to try not to. But what Dr. Sonja is saying is so important. So 2 years ago, I'm just going to give you guys a brief story. I was doing all the right things, doing all the working out, eating all the vegetables and the lean proteins and all of that stuff that I was supposed to be doing. And I was dropping weight really fast, and I didn't know why. And I wasn't trying to. In fact, I was trying to grow my glutes. So I was getting really mad that I was dropping weight, and I was not feeling great, and depression set in, and all this stuff. And it went on a 2-year journey of trying to find out what was wrong with me. And doctors telling me it was in my head. And I was like, nah, promise I'm not crazy. And the long and short of it was, I finally went to a doctor who was an MD and a holistic doctor. She tested me for all the things that I was missing and my food sensitivities. And unfortunately, the food sensitivities list is as long as my arm. Everything I was eating is everything that was wreaking havoc on my gut. And then because of it, I wasn't absorbing any of the nutrients that I was taking in. So while I was eating all the really good food, nothing was coming from it. I was deficient in everything. My adrenals were tapped, my vitamins were tapped, my vitamin D was gone, and it was like I was headed down a really ugly path. So don't be afraid to talk about what you're experiencing, and don't be afraid to challenge authority sometimes, and to keep going on your quest for answers if you know something isn't right, because nobody knows your body better than you. That's just my little tip for the day. Hope you take that with you. Okay, next question. I'm going to jump back to my note card so I don't go too far off on my tangent. So let's say, what challenge have you overcome in your career so far that would inspire some of our women here today to maybe keep fighting for whatever their goal is? Dr. Sonja, let's start with you.
Okay, well, I have a long list, but I'll keep it short. Let's see, where do I start? So I started my practice in 2008 at the bottom of the recession. I had no funding. I was in a brand new area in the desert, which naturopathic medicine in general is not very well known in the desert. It really is a desert. And so I had to do a lot of marketing and put a lot of effort into educating my community on what naturopathic medicine is from scratch. And that took a long time. Fortunately, I have some really great help, and my staff is here, and I have some fabulous family and friends that are here who helped along the way. But that was some major roadblocks there to get started. And then some other roadblocks that I ran into along the way is sometimes you just gotta get rid of or get through some toxicities in your life. And you may or may not have them, but I had quite a few that I didn't realize. And to, again, move through that took a toll. And but I'm here today, and better for that, I think. And it taught me to take to heart that being a woman is the most powerful thing that you can be, and that we are not a liability, we are a strength. And so
I love that. Rebecca, what about you? What is something you have overcome?
Wow, challenges. I mean, I feel like challenges are just the universe asking you or testing you to see how much you want something. I mean, really that's it. All you've got to do is pass the test. It's not even a challenge, it's a test. It's saying, how much do you want this? Is this something that's you're really passionate about? So for me, my first challenge was just getting to the United States. I mean, like, that was a challenge in itself. A lot of money and a lot of, persistence. So I feel like if you could do that, you can do anything. I went through a toxic relationship too. I was actually married before, so going through a divorce, and in that kind of relationship where nutrition and fitness was not important, going out at the weekends and drinking, that was what the key was to that part. So having to detach myself from a relationship of 4 years, going through a marriage, going through a divorce, to be able to say, like, okay, this is not the life that I want to lead. I want to lead one with health and nutrition and
positive, empowerment, and I had to have a lot of strength to walk away, because at the time I wasn't making much money, in fact, like not at all. So, as a woman in, Southern California, it's not cheap, not even from here, don't have my mum and dad here, but I knew that it was possible, because I could see everybody around me was making the right changes, and I just, thankfully found a great community that was able to share with me the vision. From then on, I've had so many challenges, just creating a website and an app, working with developers. Oh, that's so fun. God, if I don't shoot one of them, they will shoot me. I'm so grateful that I've got, some of my team members in the room with me that have stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to get the website up, explaining to people what's happened. Get ready for that. If you want a career in anything, you're gonna have to work with some developers. Just going through, normal changes of me being the right role model that I need to be, making the right decisions, I'm gonna make this decision because this is what's gonna lead me to where I want to be for the people that I've already involved in my community. So you're gonna find so many challenges, but don't think of them as challenges. They're just a test, and it's just the universe testing you to see how much you want it, and just pass that test every single time.
Love that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like as an entrepreneur, really my position is a problem solver. And every day there are problems or challenges, or I like to call them surprises. It's a positive way. And it makes me sound like, oh, what's my surprise today? And I actually do that and try to make it happy for myself. Because I think you'll be surprised at how resilient you are, but actually I'm going to share a story that I have never spoken about before. But I think it's actually really apt for our time right now in this room. And my very, very first job out of college lasted only 3 months. And it was because I was sexually harassed. And I was so embarrassed by it. And I had a wonderful support system. And it wasn't until really the Me Too movement that happened that I finally shared a little bit of my story. But I think what I learned most, and I'm actually, I'm sure everyone has a story here. We work in a very male-dominated spaces, a lot of us do, at least. And I'm sure some of us will come into, some sort of situation, and it's really difficult to deal with, but I'm actually happy that I experienced this early on, because it really taught me to understand my own values and my boundaries, and what I will put up with and what I won't. Because since then, I've been in a lot of super male-dominated situations. There is, most often than not, I'm in an investor room or boardroom, and I'm the only woman there, time and time again. And not saying that there's sexual harassment in these at all. I'm just saying that, being the only woman, that is a challenge that we do have. And so to really, lean in and to have a seat, I think it's good to really find your voice and find what you believe in, and to really hold true to that. So, it's unfortunate that I had this challenge early on, but I'm also grateful because I now really, I feel like I know my values a bit more, I guess.
First of all, I love your little, what surprise am I going to be faced with today? I'm going to use that, because same thing, get hit with surprises all the time. And Rebecca, very much like you said they're not challenges, they're tests. And I always say that if something doesn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out, to not look at it as a failure, but to look at it as a redirect. That's the word I use when people say, oh, how'd you overcome failures? And I said, I don't have any failures, I have redirects. I thought this was my path, but it wasn't, and I was being redirected to something else that was supposed to be my path. So I think just that positive mind shift is really important to have as you enter into business, or really any goal that you're going for in life. Let's do one more question, because I see the sign going up for Q&As for all of you guys. So let me see. Here's a good one that I want to ask. What are some tips for all of these women today to stay on their health and their fitness journey and their goals? Whoever would like to take it first.
Yeah, I'll just keep it short. I think it's to this point of reframing negative situations as positive, and I think to really get on your way and to keep going again your journey of health and wellness, it's about positive self-talk, and really reframing situations in a more inspiring and positive way. And there's just so much terrible marketing and messaging out there for women, to skinny or diet this or size 0 or cleanse, and you have all of this negative talk already in marketing, and so the more that you can really bring positivity and inspiration and look at it, your health and wellness from a more holistic perspective, and that I think really starts with like your own self-talk and reframing, I think you're going to be in a lot better position than most.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, I really feel like you can't fail at anything if you don't quit. Like, really, that's the only way that you fail is if you quit. I mean, yeah, you can get redirected, and that's definitely a way to look at it as well. And as long as you don't, when you get redirected, you don't quit on the end of that redirect, you know? And thank you for sharing your story. It's amazing how many people in this Me Too movement, my very first casting when I was 16 years old, turned out it wasn't a casting at all. It was a guy that was videotaping us. And I could have let that one element stop. And I remember like not even telling my mum, because I got in my car and I drove away, and I'm like, that wasn't right. Like something in there was not right. And I was like emailing the other girls because we were CC'd on this email. We're like, if we don't hear from anything, like should we call the police? And then I did get a call from the police. And I could have let that one person or that one incident like affect the rest of my life. And I would have never have then gone for a casting to be on a YouTube channel and realized that my one talent in life was working out and talking at the same time. You know, so you're going to face things, again, that's going to challenge, test you. And like, you've just got to pass it and know that there's other people that have been through that. And one thing that people ask me all the time is like, well, how do you stay motivated? It's discipline. Really, that's the secret of motivation, is learn how to be disciplined, learn how to get up in the morning when your alarm goes off, give yourself the 5-second rule. You know, learning that aspect of being disciplined is going to keep you motivated, because, you know, you can get motivated for like maybe a week, like sometimes like maybe 1 minute, right? But you've got to be inspired and you've got to have the discipline to keep going. So if you can just, you know, learn to be disciplined, then anything in your fitness and health career, and as well as your entrepreneurial career, is going to come true.
I love that. I say it all the time. I'm not always motivated, but I'm always disciplined. Dr. Sonja. To me, having a lot of grit and tenacity is one of the keys to keep me going. And just everything that you guys have already said, fantastic. Ladies there, and also make sure that you have your team of Jedis and your mentors and your close friends, because they're the ones that are going to be there to keep you on your path and pick you up when you need it and kick you in the ass when you need it the most. So I love that. Okay, so let's open it up for questions from the audience. If you guys have a question, just raise your hand for me. And don't be shy, because otherwise we'll just all be sitting here silently. Anybody? Yes.
You were talking about having struggles with the developers. Can you go into that a little bit about what are some main issues that you have?
So when you're like setting up a website or an app, you're going to find that there's a lot of people out there that say that they can do something in a certain time frame, and it's complete utter rubbish. So I've learned, I mean, I can talk to you afterwards about literally the timeline. Like, I had an idea for an app a year and a half ago. It came out in February. It wasn't the app that, you know, we were told that was going to happen, and it's going to come out next week. So it's going to take time. But you just have to be very upfront with people about like getting a contract. Like, I want it by this time. These are the design proofs. I mean, I've learned stuff every single time going through, like, okay, like, I want to see the design that you can do first. Like, don't just go to a developer, like, see what they can do. Like, hey, this is my brand. I want to know what you can do with it. Like, what's your idea? And then get them to come with it. And then if they need to match their exact designs, they need to match their timeline, they need to match their price, and they'll be like, well, it's going to be around this to this. No. Like, you need to know like exactly what it is going to be, and there is going to be like some, you know, ups and downs with it, but you've got to stay on them. I mean, I've just been traveling. I've been in Norway and Iceland for the last 2 weeks, and most of the time was spent chasing these developers. Like, oh, so how are we doing? They're like, well, we don't really work at weekends. I'm like, okay, I guess I will be then. So yeah, you just have to stay on top of them. Do your research first with who you're going to use, but just know going into it, give yourself an extra 2 months before anything launches.
Always. Who else? Yes.
I have a really loud voice, so I don't know. So first of all, Autumn, I love you. I'm in your diet vet, and I just did 80-day obsession, court and booty this morning. So
You're welcome.
Thank you. So that's part of my question, and it's mainly for you, but I'd love to hear other feedback. Is I see all the people who are like, oh, you're in your workouts and you do them, and I want to do what you do. and I try to inspire them, and then it just seems like they go off into left field. How do we keep ourselves motivated, but how do we bring others into this journey and help them stay motivated so that they can reach their goals?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, how these things, it's so funny, Rebecca, you and I have such similar philosophies. It's like, I'm like, wow, she's really in my head. I say the same thing all the time, that I really, like, people always ask me the same question, how do you stay motivated? And I'm not always motivated, but I am disciplined. And once you're disciplined for long enough, it really does become a lifestyle. Like, I can't, like, imagine not exercising for multiple days in a row. In fact, that actually gives me anxiety. Like, I'm like, okay, I want my rest day, but God forbid there's like 3 or 4 days, because it really isn't about my physical appearance. It really is about my sanity and my mental health and like what I know is good for my body. So when you do that for yourself and you're that disciplined, and then you share that, and you're sharing your authentic self and your ups and your downs and your struggles. It's why I try very hard when I'm on my social media to not just paint this picture of like this easy, perfect life, because it's so far from it. So I think if you really share the struggles of like, hey, I didn't want to work out today, I got up and did it anyways. Or hey, like, I was tempted. Or guess what, I did enjoy the pizza and wine tonight, because that's part of the journey too. Like, when I was in competition, yes, of course, it was like 4 to 6 months of just insanely strict nutrition, but that's no way to really live. That's not living. That's kind of feels like slow death. And it gets you to stage, but that's not how I don't want to live my life like I'm taking the stage every single day. So it's finding the balance, and I think it's just the more you share that with people, the more people are like, oh, cool, I can do that. Like I can do that lifestyle where I work out more often than not, and I eat healthier more often than not, but I see that I'm still allowed to have some of the good stuff too. I'm allowed to go out at night and have a cocktail with my friends, and then they want to be a part of it because they're like, okay, well, if you can do it, I can do it. And I think you guys, honestly, are the most inspiring. We sit up here, but a lot of times we're viewed, okay, they're the expert, so there's something super special, like they have superhuman powers. We don't, but we get put in this different class of like, well, there's something different about you guys compared to me, so I can't do what they do. But when you guys show people that you're doing it, that you're like, hey, I'm just Jane from wherever, and I'm a mom, and I've got kids, and I'm doing it, then people are more like, okay, if Jane can do it, I can do it.
How often should we be sharing those stories? Like every day?
I think you share some things all the, like, it doesn't have to be forced, but you share something about whether it's what you're eating for the day, or that you did your workout, or look, I went live the other day, you guys, and I shared a really hard story. I was about to start filming. I'll make it very quick because I want to keep going with questions. We are about to open our restaurant in 2 weeks, and we got a random call from our electrician who was going to do work on it, and he's like, hey, the lockbox isn't here. How do you want me to get in? And I was like, that's weird. The lockbox was there last night. The long and short of it was somebody broke the lockbox off, stole the key, broke in, and robbed us. So a bunch of really expensive equipment was gone, and my brother and I were on set about to start filming our cooking show. So the 2 owners of the restaurant are like, hey, we can't deal with this because we have a whole crew ready to do. And at first I was like, I'm not going to share this because I don't want to get the like woe is me story, right? And I was like, no, there's something more important to share here, and it's not about the fact that we got robbed. It's about the fact that like shit happens. There's nothing I can do. It wasn't like I did something wrong. The place was locked up. But like, I'm going to move on and move forward. What surprises does life have for me today? And how do I deal with it? Like, I could have spent the whole day like sobbing my eyes out, mad that that happened. Or I could just take a deep breath and be like, that's what insurance is for. Like, let me go film this food because like, that's what I'm here for. So I think it's not forced. It's not like, ooh, this is this my sweaty selfie, and then this is my food, and then this is the da-da-da. It's just sharing your real life. I think that's the most important thing. Who else has questions for us? I saw a hand. Oh, there's one in the back. I thought I saw one in the middle. Yeah. And then I'll come to the lady in the hat afterwards.
Oh, sorry. Going off of what she said, I do want to get into fitness. My mom was into fitness. My grandma was 200 through eating right. That you're going to talk about. But I lost over 100 pounds through changing the way I ate and, you know, just taking that on. And
congratulations.
And I think kind of like the concern which the lady said, how much to share, because like a lot of people are curious about that, but you know how you get into, you know, oh, okay, I did this. It's like you share your most inner self, and then people are like, all right, what time is it? Like just telling you to turn away. Like, how did you guys get to a place where, I mean, I know it's, you have to watch your, you know, listen to your heart when you know you're not going to share your most, you know, precious treasures, but like, at what point, like once you guys, you know, become out there and you have a name to protect, a business to protect, like how do you not withhold too much information, but, you know, be generic? Like I find myself now, when people are like, oh, how'd you do it? Because I did start with veganism, then vegetarian, and now I'm back with meat. But people are like, you know, after you share some stuff, they're like, oh, I can't do that. And I'm just kind of like, you just wasted 20 minutes a month, you know? So like, what, I guess for any of you guys, how do you approach it without, you know, trying to come off like your celebrity status, I'm not going to tell you, or giving so much information? Like, where's the middle ground with that?
Rebecca, do you want to take it?
Well, yeah, I think it just depends on you. I mean, it depends what you're comfortable with. And there might be a time where you start sharing a little bit more. I mean, for me, you know, I didn't share everything that happened to me straight away, but as, you know, I felt more comfortable with my audience and who was, you know, listening to me, I felt like if it was appropriate, I was going to say it. If it has value, if it's kind, if it's necessary. You know, and if I felt it was going to inspire somebody else. You know, sometimes you don't just want to put a bunch of stuff out there straight away because everyone's like, well, that's like too much information, right? There's a time and a place, and I think you'll know that when you get the response and you feel like your journey is like, okay, I'm in a place where I feel like this information is going to help this person, or, you know, I feel like comfortable in sharing this part of my life. And I think it's a personal thing to you when you feel ready for that.
And ladies, just so you know, like, I'm going to say this, especially because we are a room full of ladies, although we do have one gentleman, hello. Two gentlemen, I see. But listen, anytime you share something about yourself, be it just in a group like this or out on social media, you are bound to run into somebody who is going to have something negative to say. It's an unfortunate thing, but it's just there. So you have to make the choice when you share something that you're sharing it because you feel it's necessary, you feel it's important, you feel it has value, and you're going to ignore the haters that come with it, because it doesn't matter how good you're trying to be, how inspiring you're trying to be, somebody will say something, and if you let that defeat you or discourage you or define whether or not you share again, you're sort of dead in your tracks. You're not going to do it. So I have this beautiful saying, it's called swipe delete. Sometimes it's swipe, delete, block, depending on how rude the comment is. So if you do share and you do find that something like that comes up, you don't have to tolerate that. We are allowed to be empowered to say, I don't have to take your bullying on social media, and I don't need to engage, but I also don't have to leave it there either. Swipe, delete, bye, there goes your rude comment, and then you just move on from it. So I think that's important. To the lady in the hat, I saw that she had a question.
Yes, so I feel that as women, to be real, we grew up with messages of shame. So in my family, sorry, I'm going to start crying, healthy eating habits weren't instilled. So what advice would you give to women that this is the beginning of their journey, and up to now, perhaps most of their eating has come from shame?
Do you have a certain person you want to answer that, or would you like everybody to?
Everybody.
Okay. Dr. Sonja, why don't we start with you?
So, one of the best things that I've done is make sure that you have a really great family therapist or friend or somebody who really understands you to talk to, somebody who you trust. Just by going through that, and a lot of my patients confide that in me too. They don't have a idyllic, you know, or what I think would be ideal, like growing up on a farm and having, you know what you're eating and you're planting what you're eating, and I would love that. But not everyone has that, and they didn't grow up here, or they grew up in much worse conditions, and food was an act of punishment or shame or whatnot. It's something that I think you have to work through personally and find what is right for you and the nutritional like guidelines that are right for you. and that are right for your health as well. And that's typically how I start with, and I work with a lot of great therapists as well, and family therapists, and also nutritionists and chefs as well. And they really help guide somebody who has a lot of questions about how to start. That's where I would point my patients to.
I love that, and I do think what you said about having like that community around you. And just remember, it doesn't have to be a therapist that you pay. It doesn't have to be if you don't have the support system in your family. That's the beautiful thing about sitting in a room like this. You've got a bunch of people who are really inspired and on a similar journey, and that is one of the positive things of social media. There are all these groups that you can be a part of that do have this very positive reinforcement and positive self-talk, and that. I can go on forever, but I want to let the other ladies join in. But I think just finding that right community to shift the mindset from shame to fuel and loving your body is where you start. I'm doing this because I love my body. I'm eating this because I want to nourish myself, not punish myself. Rebecca, what do you think?
Yeah, one of my mentors always told me that don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with. So if people are telling you something and you're like, I don't even want your life and I don't want to look like you, so why would you listen to them? So it doesn't matter if you know them in real life or if it's somebody online, just keep following people that you want to be like. And that was really the biggest thing that my mentors have told me, was just don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with, because it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing this. I think, it takes a lot of courage to do that, and just by being here and showing up and sharing, you're already making massive strides. And it takes, I believe, a community, and finding those people who you feel comfortable and trust sharing this information, and also that inspires you, that you look up to. And we can feel free to grab me after, and we can find, they're online, but they're also, in person too, and I think that's the best thing that you can do.
Love it. Anybody else with a question? Yes?
I'd love for each of you to share, stop doing this, start doing that. What would be your top 10?
Go ahead, Sarah. Or do you want a minute?
No, I mean, stop eating fake, artificial things and start eating real food.
Super simple. I love it.
So mine would be start doubting your doubts and believing in your beliefs.
Stop being your own judge, jury, and executioner, and start believing in yourself and the right thing to do.
I basically would say it the exact same way, which is stop hating yourself and start loving yourself. We have a lot of it. I'm working with somebody right now, and I asked her to tell me something she was proud of herself the other day, and she literally couldn't do it. She was so mad at me for the entire training session that I made her stand there and tell me one thing she was proud of. And I think a lot of us are hard pressed to do that sometimes. So she could tell me all her flaws, everything that she thought was wrong with her. She couldn't tell me one positive thing, and I could list 100 of them. So do that for yourself. Stop saying all the things you hate about yourself, and my body and my thighs and my cellulite, and if this was smaller and this was bigger, and start saying all the things that are amazing and beautiful, because it's not conceited at all. It's self-love. So talk to yourself the way you would want somebody else to talk to you. You would never want somebody to walk up to you and say, you're fat, you're gross, you're this, you're that. So why would you ever say it about yourself? That's the worst self-punishment. So that would be my thing. Stop hating and start loving. Anybody else for questions? Oh, I 1 and 1.
I just want to know what your favorite snack is.
Sarah? Mine's pizza. That's not a snack, but it's my favorite.
Well, obviously, I could be salesy and be like Jem, but I honestly, I like a good banana. I'm very basic.
Is this healthy snack or a bad snack?
Oh, she wants a healthy snack. I'll give you my healthy.
That's a lot harder, right?
Right?
I guess just a quick go-to snack. I mean, almond butter and some apples. That's like super easy. I mean, almond butter's so fancy. We didn't have that in England, so I feel like I'm a queen when I have butter.
I personally like cashew butter, but yeah.
Oh, well, that's
so
another step
yummy.
above me. I'm not there yet.
Oh, so yummy. Yeah, right now it's apple season, so I love a great Pink Lady apple. I actually, veggies and guacamole, so like instead of chips and guac, I love like jicama guacamole or carrots or celery or cucumbers, like I get the crunch without all the guilt of the chips.
I like kimchi too. If you're looking for something more interesting, I feel like you're looking for some ideas. Banana napkins. But
I saw another hand back there, yes.
Hi guys. So my question is more directed to Dr. Sonja over here. Hi. So a few years ago, I was diagnosed with chronic pancreatitis. I had doctors tell me it was in my head, and that it was fake because I gained like 40, 50 pounds. Sorry. What's the best way to advocate for myself because I'm still having issues with people believing me, even with test work and everything, and I don't know when enough is enough. And how do I go through that and say, look, there is something wrong with me, it's right here. I'm kind of lost on what to do next.
That's a hard question, but it's pretty common, unfortunately, in our healthcare system today. There's a lot of, if doctors don't know what you're talking about, there's a lot of, unfortunately, blaming the patient, and that's something that I just can't stand in my medical profession. Really, you have to find a doctor that will be your advocate, and that might take some time, but you have to have somebody who's going to be on your team 150%, or else it's going to be a really hard climb as you have experienced. So you have to get that team together and go talk to doctors. I know there's a lot of naturopathic doctors who, and a lot of my colleagues who see those cases where, oh yeah, we have very chronically sick patients, and they come in, they're like, I've been to 20 different doctors, they don't believe me. But I know it's not in my head, and we figure it out, and it's not in their head. It really is going on, and you just have to find somebody like that.
Can I ask, what did you say you were diagnosed with? Don't be afraid to look to the naturopaths. They, like, when you're not getting the answers from the regular MDs, they're the way to go. They will look deeper. Yes. Of course. IV. I think that's such a positive place to end. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank the panelists for being here, and thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. I hope you guys have a great rest of your event. Thank you so much.